Hey guys, my name is Ryan and welcome to Overwatch Central. So today I want to break down 5 big misconceptions that I feel I see a lot of nowadays. This mostly comes down to the meta. We haven't really had the opportunity to speak about it much. Since Hanzo, Brigitte have been in the game, it's been somewhat one-dimensional of a meta, or at least that's how it seems. So we're here to break down some really common trends of people's opinions of what they think about the game, and break them down with some actual stats to show, hey, this isn't actually the case. Not only that, you have the changes coming on the PTR, which will change how the game looks in the future, and I do think that it somewhat solidifies some counter arguments to the misconceptions that we'll be going over today. Before we get started, I did want to ask you guys about your misconceptions that you see. Do you see a lot of people saying Ana isn't very good, for example, but you disagree entirely? If there's anything like that, do put it in the comments below. I'm really interested to hear what you guys have to say, what common opinions you see that you basically disagree with. But we're going to get started in today's first misconception, which is the tank duo of Reinhardt Zarya being must picks. One big swing of meta changes that came in with Brigitte and new Hanzo was the increase of popularity with Reinhardt and Zarya. Honestly, it was amazing. It was really nice to see this pair return, how they synergized with the new hero in Brigitte, and how the strategy came up, and basically how these two tanks that have been very quiet since the start of 2018 have now really gone up in popularity. You have stuff like Reinhardt being the highest picked hero on Overwatch, for example, but these do look like heroes and characters that you can't really go without, and that picking any other tank would be considered throwing. However, that's the bit that isn't true, and I mean it's still good news for everybody involved. Reinhardt Zarya is still played a lot and the more common tank combination that you will see, but honestly the other tanks have been played a lot more too, especially recently. We did a video actually a couple of days ago talking about the rise of Orisa. Most of us know that Orisa's been in a really tough place recently. She struggled with dive, all of those metas that were going in, kind of found her feet a little bit in the Moth meta where counter and anti-dive was more of a thing with Junkrat, but since that went away, she hasn't been played, and then Brigitte came into the game, which just made things a lot worse for her. Well, now she's found her feet with the double sniper compositions, or any form of composition that's there to shut down double snipers too. Even Roadhog has been played more in this weird one support triple tank lineup that we've seen in the Overwatch League. And of course, Winston D.Va never really went away. Checking any stats website will show you that Winston D.Va did fall, but not at any alarming level. But this misconception especially can be dissected and broken down fairly easily, but it also has a lot to do with our next misconception, so we'll myth bust them both together. Dive is dead. Winston and D.Va included, Dive did take a hit with the addition of Brigitte. Looking on Winston's lab, a Tracer's pick rate, especially in the Overwatch League, it's a big drop and a big shock, and it does suggest that this age-old meta is no more. But again, that just isn't true. The main reason why Dive has been seen less with the addition of Brigitte is that Brigitte was just so good at shutting down flankers and making Genji, Tracer, Winston's life that much harder. Especially when she was added into the game, that's all people played in that triple support lineup. But that evolved to be double sniper, and that will continue to evolve in this meta. But I just mentioned double sniper there. That came out of the woodwork to counter triple support, which was there to counter a very traditional dive. And dive against double sniper isn't too bad, so it's almost come full circle. And even picking double sniper isn't an instant win, much like triple support wasn't an instant win. There were counters to it. Lots of different compositions have been created at the moment in the highest tiers and in ranked, and the basic fundamentals of dive, i.e. just jumping on and focusing down the character, still hold to be true current day. While yes, Genji and Tracer aren't used as much in it anymore, you still have heroes like Doomfist that's been picked up a lot more, and you can still have a dive composition with say Widowmaker or Hanzo on your team if you're still running Genji or Tracer. That's still a very common strategy that you see in the highest tiers. And I mean, Hamid is coming into the game soon, and he will literally be jumping on targets by the time he comes onto live, so he fits perfectly into dive. To dispel both misconceptions about Reinhardt Zarya being must picks and dive being trash, you can kind of break it down to one sentence. The Reinhardt Zarya Hanzo deathbally strategy isn't the best composition in the game currently, however it is the easiest to pick up and synergize with your team, much more so than dive. But yeah, dive is still a great style to run on certain control maps, or especially on Watchpoint Gibraltar, but there's just more counter picks to shut down that composition, which hasn't really been the case for a long time, and it's certainly not as de facto as it used to be. Now, we've mentioned a little bit Hanzo here there in this video, and that goes on to the next misconception. Hanzo is the strongest hero in the game right now. By no means am I saying that Hanzo isn't super strong, but there seems to be this attitude that if you don't run Hanzo, then you're at a severe disadvantage. But actually looking at stats, Hanzo's viability right now isn't completely stacked in pick rate. Both in the Overwatch League and in ranked play, Hanzo's pick rate isn't the best and his win rate is middle of the pack. Yet players and pundits keep talking about this sniper meta being the main composition to run. Well, that's less about Hanzo and more about Widowmaker. The issue with Hanzo in ranked play, certainly at the levels that we play at, is much like Brigitte and Mercy, the skill floor is a lot lower than it is for Widow, and the amount of impact that you can have on a fight as Hanzo is much grander. Not saying that Hanzo is as easy to pick up as Mercy or Brigitte, but you can still do a huge amount for less than in comparison to, say, Widowmaker, that requires much more mechanical aim skill, positional and team awareness. You get the idea. The next misconception is a difficult one to really nail down, as we'll be talking about Mercy again. She's in a really good spot. However, pro community members and even myself have said that Mercy will always be a heavily picked hero whilst she has the Resurrect ability, and that's what I'm kind of trying to contest here. Resurrect is making Mercy OP. The argument isn't that Mercy isn't super strong. She is, and she has the stats to back us up, and that's also not saying that Resurrect isn't a strong ability. It's more why Mercy is a stronger pick. This particular misconception has cropped up quite a lot since the Mercy changes went onto the PTR recently. She has a nerf to her default healing coming up, and some people are saying, well, so long as she has res, she will always be OP, and I'm not sure I agree anymore. Since January and that Moth meta that we've been speaking about, Resurrect has been whittled down and reworked quite a few times. It had 2 charges that were insta-cast, to then having 1 charge, to then having a cast time, and then all of these other minute changes that went into it too. It's an ability that has a 30-second cooldown, can now be easily interrupted with a CC stun or be knocked away, and it also has a cooldown persisting through death. No other ability does that, but no other ability has that same sort of impact. It's more that Mercy is just too good at everything else that no other support can come near her. She still does better healing per second than Lucio. It's less than Ana and Moira's, but Mercy requires no aim really and no resource to heal up a character like Ana does with her aim and Moira does with the resources that she needs. Mercy can heal targets without really looking at them, around corners, and also her mobility is infinitely better than all of the other supports. Not only that, she has a huge amount of self-sustain with her self-healing, and a huge ultimate to boot. We could talk about Mercy all episode in this regard, but it is more that the Resurrect alone isn't making Mercy strong here. I think if you removed Resurrect as an ability, she'd still be played an awful lot because of what she can do. With the other support buffs and the Mercy nerfs, it might bring the other supports into the fray a little bit more. And I don't really think that the Mercy nerf is all that huge, but it is a huge test into whether this opinion is true or not, and I feel it's not right to say Resurrect alone is the reason why Mercy is such a must pick when she's so good in multiple different areas. There's a good comparison between how many Resurrects a Mercy would get between Stage 1 and Stage 2 of the Overwatch League, i.e. the old OP Mercy versus the recently reworked one, and you can check that down in the description below. Certainly worth a read if you want to really see the comparison. And finally, the last misconception which I really want to blast through is that the meta is stale. I would say that the strategy of Reinhardt, Zarya, Hanzo, Grav Dragon combination is a go-to just because of the lack of synergy and coordination that it requires. It's quite easy to run in any given rank that anybody plays at. However, the argument that the meta is stale just isn't really true at all, unless you're talking about the supports, because yes, Zenyatta and Mercy are very much in control of that market. But that's looking to change up fairly soon with the PTR changes, with any luck at least. But the tanks we've already spoken about, Orisa, Roadhog, Winston D.Va, Reinhardt, Zarya, have been played an awful lot more. And the DPS options, now that there's no attack or defense, has been used a lot more. I've seen Reaper, Doomfist, Widowmaker, Pharah, Hanzo, Genji, Tracer, Junkrat, Mei, Bastion. All of these heroes have been used an awful lot in the highest tiers, and that's just sort of getting started with some of the lineups. But looking at any form of hero stats on Overbuff or Winston's Lab will show you that it's not just a case of 6 heroes being played all the time. Certainly used to be the case at the start of Season 10 with new Hanzo, but it's now started to bleed more into Dive being played a little bit more, and other strategies coming through. So I just wanted to make this video because I think the meta in the game is looking a lot better than players may make it out to be. But again, I do want to hear what you guys think in the comments below about all this, whether you agree or disagree with some of the statements and some of the stats that we've shown. Do let us know in the comments below, and until next time, take care, we'll see you then.